Welcome to another Bites of Bread from St. John and Center. Again, I'm Pastor Shell. Together, we're exploring the Holy Land and we're learning from the events and the places of the Bible. That means today we get to continue following the Apostle Paul on his missionary journey. Our last stop was in Corinth. Today, we follow him to a city of Ephesus. Now, if you want to better understand maybe where we're at, you can look at the map here. Bottom left-hand side of those black squiggles, you'll see a red dot that says Corinth. Follow it across the water to the right, and underneath the title Asia, you will see the city of Ephesus. And that's where we'll join him today. Once again, we're going to see that he has challenges on his journey. This time, those challenges are centered around a goddess named Artemis. Artemis of the Ephesians was a fertility goddess worshipped throughout Asia. And if you'd head over there today, you'd see that they actually have found some of the statues that were used and made in her honor. This was a big deal. The Temple of Artemis was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. In fact, the museums, they actually have reconstructed an idea of what that temple probably looked like. Certainly that would have been impressive to see in life. But if you go over there today, it's really not all that impressive. There's barely anything left standing. What is amazing, though, is you can actually look at some of the ancient coins from this time, and you can actually understand what this temple would have looked like that the Apostle Paul would have seen. If you go to the British Museum, you can see one of the massive column bases of the temple. At one point, it had 127 columns, some of which were as high as 62 feet. But even though this strikes us as very impressive, I don't think the Apostle Paul was too impressed, because he didn't come for Artemis of the Ephesians. He came and he pointed them to the one true God and the salvation he offers. He pointed them to a God who lived, who visited this earth, and wasn't just a statue, but one who did everything necessary for our salvation and ended it with his resurrection to show that his work was complete. So Paul came with an amazing message of hope, but not everybody cared about this truth, and they weren't really interested in the comfort that it offered. In fact, some of them were more interested in their own income. So once again, we see a crowd unite against Paul, and he had to leave. We actually hear about this in the book of Acts, beginning from chapter 19, verse 23. We'll read selected verses. So during this time, there was more than a minor disturbance about the way. A certain silversmith named Demetrius, who made silver shrines of Artemis, brought in no little income for the craftsmen. He called them together along with the workers in similar trades and said, "Men, you know that our prosperity comes from this income. You also see and hear that not merely in Ephesus, but throughout almost the entire province of Asia, this Paul has persuaded and turned away a large number of people. He says that the gods made by hands are not gods at all. Not only is there a danger that our trade may be discredited, but also that the temple of the great goddess Artemis may be considered worthless. Then she will suffer the loss of her magnificence, although she is worshipped by the whole province of Asia and the world." When they heard this, they were filled with rage and began to shout, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians." The city was filled with confusion, and with one goal in mind, they rushed to the theater. For about 2 hours, they kept shouting, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians." After the town clerk had quieted the crowd, he said, "We are in danger of being charged with rioting today, because we will not be able to give a reason for this disorderly mob." After he said this, he dismissed the assembly. After the uproar had ended, Paul sent for the disciples and encouraged them. After saying goodbye, he left to go to Macedonia. Now, certainly Ephesus would be an amazing city to visit because there's so much archaeology there. This is one of those things that we can find a lot of archaeology talking about events in the Bible. But if you go to this city, I don't think as a Christian we could visit it without stopping to think about just the whole issue of idolatry. That city was centered on idolatry. And probably to us it seems silly to worship this pagan fertility goddess. But let's face it, our modern idols aren't much better. In Catechism, we learn that we should fear, love, and trust in God above all things. So my question for you is, who do you fear the most? Who do you respect, God or your friends? Who do you love? What is it that fills our hearts with the greatest joy? Where do we dedicate our time and our money? Who do we trust? When we're scared, when we need security, where do we look, or to whom do we run? There's a lot of different places that we can go to. I know that the Temple of Artemis was a wonder of the world, but still today we construct temples of our own, even if we don't call them that. It's no wonder that our stores can be so impressive. People literally talk about making pilgrimages to Lambeau Field, as if it were a holy site. We trust the New York Stock Exchange for our future. And these are just a couple examples. You know in your own life how you'd answer those last questions. And where are the things and the people that you worship rather than the one true God? Certainly, those other things could be blessings. It's not wrong to like the Packers. It's not wrong to invest in the stock exchange. But we need to remember that none of those compare with what Paul was trying to share. We need the true God, the one worthy of our fear, love, and trust. Not only is he the only real one, he is the only one who is really able to help us. So sure, we may not have been like those Ephesians who rioted against the truth, but really we're not that much different. We still have idols, and we still need the one true God and what he alone offers us. Thanks for watching. God's blessings.